try a different one. Down here, over here, on these lines. So one of the awesome things about homeschool is that we can do our school whenever we need to and wherever we need to. So I've been nursing the baby and he's done now, but Cheyenne asked if we could go ahead and do our school, and the awesome thing about this homeschool is that I can just do it right here on the couch while I'm nursing the baby. So right now we're just working on the alphabet, and this week is the letter P. So I write the letter P and have her trace it, and then I write a bunch of random letters and put P's in there, and she circles the P's. And she does a really good job. Scoot back. She does a really good job. So last year, my neighbor across the road gave me a peppermint plant, and I planted it at our home. It's up on, I need to give y'all an update of where we're living now, but anyways, our old house is up at the front of our property, and we moved to the back of our property. So anyways, last year I planted this little single peppermint plant up at the old house, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually be able to plant this and it's gonna grow, because peppermint are like super hardy, right? And I thought I killed it because it went away, like the weeds grew up around it, and it was just gone, and I couldn't find it anymore the rest of the fall or the summer. And so yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, I was up there and I saw the peppermint, and it had multiplied into like 5 or 6 plants. So I grabbed 3 of them and I put them in a little cup with some soil, and I'm just now getting around to planting them. So I've got these pots. Hang on, Cheyenne. I've got these pots that I've planted stuff in them before, but everything's dead right now. There's just weeds in it. So I'm going to weed these pots and loosen up the soil and plant these peppermint plants in there.
And I love you.
Dempsey, don't stick your head in it.
This
All
one's
right,
broken
here it
too.
is.
This one's broken too.
It's broken. We'll just leave it alone, okay? It might perk up in a couple of days. Now we got to get some water for it.
Okay. I'll go get some water.
Thank you. With this many babies running around, somebody is always crying. What's wrong?
No.
Are you stuck?
Uh-huh.
Did you climb up there and can't figure out how to get down?
No.
I had to put Hank down to come get Garvin Dempsey, and now Hank's screaming. He's really tired. He wants to take a nap, but I wanted to get this finished before I laid him down, so. What's wrong with you? Are you too tired? I said, I'm so tired.
Put it in the pot.
That's right. Just pour it on there. You don't have to move the plant. Just pour it on there. Good job.
You have to stop.
No, don't stir it. Just leave it alone now. So, whenever we planted these, it was lunchtime whenever we got done. So I went inside and I made lunch. We had lunch and laid the kids down for a nap. So it's been a couple hours, and whenever I planted these, I intended to go ahead and put them like in the shade so they'd be a little bit less stressed out because of the sun and stuff, and I forgot. So I'm going to move these to the shade, and hopefully they'll recover, because right now they're looking pretty puny. I'm also going to give them some more water. I I'm terrible at this gardening thing. Alright, so the big kids are napping, and Hank and I are just walking around out in the yard. I try to go outside a lot whenever kids are napping, just do some fresh air and some peace, and I wouldn't call it quiet because there's a lot of farm animals and stuff, but it's peaceful for me because I'm used to having kids running around hollering and crying and stuff. So anyways, I am just walking around out in the front yard, and I wanted to bring y'all along to show y'all some of the edible plants that we have that just grow wild that you probably have too. So let me turn the camera around. Okay, so we are in our front yard. We're right outside the gate, and we have a ton of honeysuckle all throughout all of our property. Most people have seen honeysuckle and heard of honeysuckle. It blooms in May-ish, end of April, beginning of May. I think even into June. And oh, it smells so good. And I grew up as a child eating the nectar out of it, but I have recently found out that you can make a tea out of it, you can make a syrup out of it, and you can make like an elixir and a tonic out of it. It's very medicinal. It's good for inflammation. It's good for viral infections, and it's good for digestive issues to help you with that. I'm trying to think of what all it's good for. But anyways, just Google the benefits of honeysuckle, and Google will bring up all kind of stuff. Right here we have some blackberries. These are just wild. They're growing just native in our pasture. We've got an old tractor sitting here that's been sitting here for a few years, and this looks like a fairly young blackberry bush, but it won't take a couple of years and it'll be massive, and I should be able to harvest some blackberries off of it this year. Whenever this bloomed in the spring, it had some pretty white blooms on it, and I was paying attention because we have a lot of wild white roses as well. So whenever they're blooming, for me, it's been kind of hard to tell them apart. But anyways, I've been paying attention, and I noticed the other day that these do have the little starts of little blackberries. Over here is some more blackberries. It looks like this is going to be a pretty good patch. Looks like it's probably already a couple of years old, and this should be great. And they will be ready around the beginning to mid-June. That's usually whenever they're ready, and it's like so scorching hot, and I'll be out here picking blackberries and getting scratched up with thorns and praying that I don't step on a snake. But they will be so worth it because they're going to be delicious. If you can see all those little red spots, those are a whole bunch of blackberries that I probably will not be picking, because you can see how growed up this is. I'm not going in there. I'm not that brave. Alright, so this is right under our house, just on the edge of our house. That's the edge of our trailer. And this is called Polk. And this is a tiny little baby plant. And this is the perfect time to eat it, really, because it's still so tender. But they get really tall, like 6 or 7 foot tall. Maybe not 7 foot, but probably about 6 foot tall. And they have berries on the top of them whenever they're fully mature. And they're like purple berries, and if you just touch them, you get berry juice all over you. Alright, so here are a couple more mature polk plants. These leaves are really big. They're a lot tougher. They're going to be more bitter whenever they're cooked. If I was going to harvest from these, I would just harvest the top leaves. I wouldn't harvest the bottom leaves. And I actually did a couple of weeks ago whenever I harvested. You can still see there from where I just picked the top off of it. And pretty soon these will be going, starting berries. See, I don't see any berries forming yet. But their berries are in like a cone shape. Like if you thought of a upside down ice cream cone, it's a cone. And they're like dark purple. They make a big mess if you get them on you. But anyways, the thing about polk is it is actually poisonous. I know a few of you are probably like, your alarms are going off. Tell everybody it's poisonous. Polk is actually poisonous, but there is a way to get the toxins out of it. You boil it for a few minutes, and then you drain the water off of it, and then you boil it again for a few minutes, drain the water, and then boil it again for a few minutes, drain the water, and then either the third or the fourth time it's safe to eat. I think whenever I cooked it, I went ahead and drained it 3 times, and we ate it on the 4th time just to make sure. And of course, we had no issues whatsoever. And we grew up eating polk. Me and my grandfather used to drive down the road, and we would see a polk patch on the side of the road just growing wild, and we would stop and we would gather it and we'd bring it home to my granny, and she would cook it. And it just, whenever I come out here and pick it, it just brings back those memories of me and my papa, which is awesome. All right, I just spent like 3 or 4 minutes, well, probably more like 5 or 6 minutes, gathering the leaves off some of the polk plants. And this is something that is awesome about wearing a long skirt, is you can use it to carry stuff. I use mine to carry my eggs and just whatever. So those are just the few of the things that are in very close proximity to my home that are edible, that are completely free, completely organic, and I just have to go out and pick it, and it doesn't even take that long. And it's kind of nice actually to just come outside and just be outside. It's actually a little bit hot today, and of course nobody likes the hot, but it's getting my sweat going just a little bit, which is good too. So anyways, we do have a good amount of property, so I have a lot of area that I can find a lot of things to forage, but you don't even have to have that much property. If you just look out in your yard, there are weeds that are growing that you probably don't know are edible, like dandelion. Dandelion's edible. It's very medicinal. It's great for anemia, if you have anemia. And the whole plant is edible. The root, the leaves, the flower. There's a weed called lamb's quarter that a lot of people have in their yards. I have it in my yard at our old place up the hill, and it has like a ton of vitamins and minerals. It's like super high in vitamin C, and it's also called wild spinach. That's about how much I got, or that is how much I got. I just laid it on the back porch, and I'm going to go inside here in a minute and get it and bring it inside. If you have a hibiscus plant, hibiscus flowers are edible. They actually make really great teas. Let's see, Queen Anne's lace is edible, which is a flower that it's a big white flower that blooms. Sassafras, if you have a sassafras tree, that's very medicinal and edible. There's so much out there that like you just wouldn't believe. It's just free organic food and it's just out there in your yard, and I had no idea. I mean, I knew that there were probably like edible plants that I didn't know about, because obviously, you know, well, that's just not part of our culture to just go out and eat plants. But I knew that they were probably out there. I just didn't know how many, and I didn't know how easy they were to find. And they're everywhere, and I think it's awesome. So hopefully you do too, and you don't think I'm just a crazy nerd. One thing that I want to say is I want to encourage y'all to do your own research on these things. Don't just take my word for it, because I am human and I'm not perfect, and sometimes I say the wrong thing, or sometimes I get things mixed up. So just do your own research before you consume anything. Make sure that you are checking and double checking that you are looking at the correct plant and that you're about to consume the correct plant. There are a lot of lookalikes out there that look very similar to edible plants that aren't the same thing. So anyways, I just encourage y'all to do your own research and do your own foraging, because it's really not that hard once you get into it. Look at a few videos about foraging. There's a ton of information about foraging on YouTube and just different websites and Google. So
God hears me when I'm sad. I'm too short, then too small. Sometimes I don't fit at all. Tiny hands and little feet can't hold a bat or cross the street. But when my heart is sad, God comforts me. And
every animal and every bird. The door shuts and it rains all day and all night. The whole earth is flooded, but everyone inside the ark is kept safe by God. After 40 days and 40 nights, the rain stops. Noah sends out a dove. It returns carrying a leaf.